So things are getting pretty interesting between Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, with yesterday Kyler Murray's agent coming out with this very, very long statement basically discussing why Kyler Murray has been a very, very important asset to the Cardinals and basically why they should come in and pay him. And I want to read this one excerpt from it that sort of talks about it. Then they say this: looking ahead, Kyler believes that in order to consistently compete for championships and ultimately deliver the Valley their first round Super Bowl in 33 plus years, there needs to be long-term stability for both the organization and himself. To overtly communicate Kyler's desire to be the Cardinals' long-term QB, we sent a detailed contract proposal to the organization. It was important to Kyler that his proposal reflected all of the following: provides financial protection, is in line with the current QB market that compares his results alongside relevant comps, lowers his 2022-23 cap hit number to allow the Cardinals to re-sign other deserving teammates and add additional free agents, and most importantly, represents a real commitment from the organization to see if their ultimate goals align with his two above, consistently competing for championships and Kyler being their QB. So basically, they're coming out publicly, letting the entire world know, the Cardinals organization, the Cardinals fan base know, that they have basically submitted a contract extension to the Arizona Cardinals. So basically, I feel like they're sort of putting the Cardinals front office in a pretty interesting situation, because now it sort of seems like Kyler and his agent are basically like, if you don't pay me and give me this long-term extension, I'm not too sure I want to play for the Cardinals. Because read this last excerpt from the entire statement. He says this: Kyler remains hopeful that the organization chooses to commit so that he can continue leading the Cardinals to further success and value for many years to come. So it begs the question, does this mean if the Cardinals don't commit to Kyler Murray for the long term, does that mean he's just not going to play for the Cardinals? Like, is he just going to, sit out and say, you know what, you haven't paid me, and so because of that, I'm not going to play? It's a very good question. And I think looking at the situation after, I think the third season, with players being able to be eligible for extensions, Kyler Murray clearly wants to come in and get a very long-term extension. He wants that financial stability, that financial security, which makes lots of sense. I think he's scheduled to make around $5 million coming into his fourth season here with the Cardinals, where if you look at the, top 10 quarterbacks, I think the 10th ranked quarterback right now when it comes to money paid per year or money they make per year is Matt Ryan with about $30 million. So, they're making a somewhat good point that, based on his play, he is playing as a quarterback who should be paid more, but clearly he's still in a rookie contract, and lots of times, rookies don't get paid much, and then after their third, fourth season, they make lots of money. One thing that is interesting, though, I found this stat from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. So apparently from 2011 to 2018, there have been 26 first-round quarterbacks drafted. 9 ended up getting long-term extensions, and 6 of those 9 extensions actually happened after the third season. So I think Kyler Murray is trying his hardest to be one of those quarterbacks to get the extension after his third season. Because I think if you look at someone like Baker Mayfield, who of course didn't get the extension after his third year, he comes in his fourth season this past year, injures himself, plays injured the entire season, and doesn't play well. I think some people would say it's because of his injury that Baker Mayfield didn't play well. Others may say, no, he's just not good. But imagine if Baker Mayfield had, tried as hard as Kyler Murray has so far in this offseason to get a long-term extension after year 3. He probably would be feeling a lot better right now after this fourth year, with there still being questions as to what Baker Mayfield can do. Because if you are Kyler Murray and you look at the past few seasons, he has played really, really well. But he probably thinks in his mind, what if something happens in the fourth season? What if he doesn't play as well? What if he gets injured? And then after the fourth year, they're like, oh, shoot, maybe we don't actually want to pay Kyler Murray. He's trying his hardest right now to come in and get this money so that he can have the financial stability and the financial security, which I do understand. Being a player like that, you want to come in and get paid as quickly as possible. But if you are the Cardinals, it does seem like there's some questions as to whether Kyler Murray is a good leader. I'm not a Cardinals fan. I don't follow the Cardinals super closely. And I know that when you're a fan of a fan base, you have a better understanding of what is true, what's not true, because I know being a Packers fan, when you look at the way that the media portrays Aaron Rodgers at times and, he just wants all this money and all these things, I don't think that's necessarily true. And so when it comes to Kyler Murray, Cardinals fans, you can let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys think he's a good leader? I honestly don't know. I don't follow what he says directly enough to know if he is or if he isn't, but I do know that there is this idea in the air that maybe he's not the best leader of a team, and so maybe that's the reason the Cardinals wouldn't want to come in and pay him this huge amount of money. The thing is, though, when you look at the entire, quarterback landscape, there are lots of teams who are in need of quarterbacks. I'd say there's maybe 10 to 12, maybe a few more quarterbacks who I think teams are very, very satisfied with, and I think Kyler Murray would be one of those guys that you're pretty confident in. and the fact that the Cardinals owner did say a few days ago that Kyler Murray is their long-term plan, I just sort of feel like the Cardinals are going to have to come in and do this long-term extension, because it seems that if they don't, Kyler Murray may not want to play for the Cardinals. That's sort of what it seems, or at least how he's making it seem. Maybe it's just for negotiation purposes, but these negotiation tactics may end up working, even if some people are looking at this like, come on, Kyler, do you really have to do this? But maybe if he wouldn't have made, this big of a scene, maybe they wouldn't have felt the need to come in and, give him this long-term extension. And clearly, if you're his agent, you're trying, at your best to get him this long-term extension after, this past season that just happened. So I understand it, but I also understand the Cardinals, where if they're sort of wanting to move slower to because, you would think if you're the Cardinals owner, if Kyler Murray wouldn't have said anything, you probably would have liked to be like, okay, we'll give him one more season, sort of see what happens. We think we want him to be our long-term solution, and we think we want to pay him this amount of money, but maybe we'll see, wait one more season and sort of see what he does after this fourth year, and then decide, do we want to pay up, the huge, big money to Kyler Murray? But with the way that Kyler is acting now, it seems that they may have to do it sooner than maybe they would have wanted to. But it is a pretty interesting situation here, and there are so many different, quarterback situations going on around the league, especially, of course, Aaron Rodgers being a big one. So personally, if I had to predict, just the way that the owner has already said Kyler Murray is their long-term plan, Kyler Murray seems to be making sort of an ultimatum that, he basically wants to get paid, or there's a question as to whether or not he will leave the Cardinals. So I just don't know if the Cardinals would risk trying to find another elite quarterback, because I don't know if there's any great options right now. Are they really going to try to come in and draft someone else, trade for someone else? I just don't see it happening. And so I sort of feel like the Cardinals are just going to have to come in here and, agree to an extension with Kyler Murray. The question is, what kind of offer are they asking for? Maybe it's that, Kyler Murray and his agent are asking for more than the Cardinals want to pay him, and maybe there needs to be some kind of negotiation, because we did see in that one excerpt I read you guys that Kyler Murray's agent said that they did send the contract proposal to the organization, but you'd assume the organization is probably trying to make that number lower, whatever the number is. So it will be interesting to see what happens here with Kyler Murray and what happens with his entire situation, because I think it sort of sets a precedent for what could happen in the future for other QBs if they see that if you come in here and you talk a lot and you sort of make an ultimatum, the team may have to come in and pay you if you are a very good quarterback. Because I think if Kyler wasn't a top quarterback talent, top 10, top 12, whatever you want to say, I think the Cardinals could be like, okay, we're going to move on from you. But because of how good he's played and how good he has made the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals have much of a choice but to pay him if Kyler Murray is really serious about potentially not playing if they don't pay him. I think I sort of just read into that from his final comment saying that Kyler remains hopeful that the organization chooses to commit so that he can continue to lead. It sort of sounds like he's making it sound like maybe he wouldn't play. Maybe that's a sort of a bluff, and maybe he would come in and play, and maybe the Cardinals would call his bluff. But I would just feel like as an organization, you want to get these issues figured out so that there's not more problems down the line, and you can sort of get back to focusing on the team and not this situation. But contract extensions, all these things do sometimes take a lot longer than people would have hoped, like with Dak Prescott, that entire situation. So who knows how this will end. It will be interesting to see sort of how this situation is resolved, because honestly, I don't completely know what's going to happen, but I would assume they'll get an extension done this offseason. But we will have to wait and see if it actually happens or if that does not happen. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't subscribed, I put out NFL content, Packers content as well on this channel, so feel free to subscribe down below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.